Dear brothers and sisters, today's incident will awaken your soul. Please watch the incident till the end. Assalamu alaikum. An incident happened in my life that changed everything. I accepted Islam in secret, keeping it from my father. But one day he found out, and I was terrified because he was coming to kill me. I immediately left the house, ran to the station, and suddenly my foot got stuck on the train tracks. All the Hindus there, including my father, started mocking me, saying, "If you have so much faith in your Lord, then save yourself." The train was coming toward me, and I immediately raised my head towards the sky, crying, and my eyes filled with surprise. Today, I'm going to share with you an incident from my life that has influenced many devout Hindus, forcing them to reflect deeply. My name is Nur al-Ain. For many years, I didn't know who my true God was. On one side was my father's God, the cow, which had to be fed and watered 3 times a day, and even its smelly feces were considered sacred. My father worshipped his god all day long, and an army of servants was kept for this purpose. Despite this, my father's god, the cow, would eventually die after a few years, and its dead body would be thrown into some desolate place like an outcast. Wild animals would tear it apart and eat it, but the cow couldn't do anything to protect itself or save itself from dying. Even the small pieces of meat left along with its bones were separated from its body. On the other hand, after mourning the cow's death for a few days, my father would find a new and different god. A new mother cow would come to our house. My mother, on the other hand, would cook thousands of things for Baba Guru Nanak and would keep an eye on the offerings. Sometimes the offerings would disappear and my mother would be happy, believing that Baba Guru Nanak had accepted her offerings and that all her wishes would now be fulfilled. Sometimes the offerings would remain untouched and my mother would become sad, believing Babaji was displeased. Baba's displeasure would make my mother restless, and she would abandon everything else until she figured out the reason for Babaji's displeasure. During all this, I remained confused. I didn't understand anything about these gods. Perhaps Allah had blessed me with guidance from the very beginning, placing me in such a dilemma that I had to find a way out. In my quest to escape this confusion, I asked others and worshipped Baba Guru Nanak fervently, but none of them could solve my problem because the solution to my problem was not here. My Hindu name was Preeti Krishna and my father's name was Krishna Lal. Gandhi Ji was one of our ancestors. I received my initial education in Hyderabad, India. I was a very intelligent and capable student. After securing first division in my FSC, my father got me admitted to Cambridge University in Manchester, and I started on a journey toward my true destination, where my life would shine with the light of guidance. As soon as I stepped on the land of Manchester, I felt a strange peace in my heart. A pleasant breeze began to blow, touching my body and bringing peace to my soul. Perhaps this place had been waiting for me. I had taken admission to the university, but the seats were already filled even before my arrival. However, Allah accepted it, and I was told to join another group for a few months. After 3 months, a test was to be taken, and seats would be given based on merit. I earned my seat. My benchmate was a Muslim from Pakistan named Javaria. She extended her hand to talk to me, but I wasn't interested in socializing much, so I didn't show her any special warmth. I was staying in a nearby hostel. Although I wanted a separate room, the hostel's arrangement required that I accommodate at least one girl with me, so I reluctantly agreed. The next day, my roommate arrived. As soon as I saw her, I didn't know what to say. My roommate was none other than the same Muslim girl, Javaria. I had to share the room with a Muslim. Before she arrived, I had set up the room with an idol of Baba Guru Nanak that my mother had given me, and on the other side, I had placed a picture of the new mother cow that had recently come to our house. My father believed the cow's blessing had helped me achieve first division. Apart from these, I hadn't brought anything else related to my religion. The Muslim girl entered the room with a smile, set her luggage aside, and began organizing her things. I watched her for a while and then left the room. I had given her the back side of the room and kept the door side for myself. I had made this partition myself, but when I returned to the room, there was a large curtain in the middle, dividing the room into two parts. I peeked through the curtain and saw that her side was beautifully decorated. She was busy spreading a beautiful carpet beside her bed. I called her a couple of times, but she didn't respond or even turn toward me. Her attitude made me very angry. I closed the curtain, sat on my bed, and started using my mobile. After some time, she removed the curtain, approached me, and apologized. She explained that she hadn't responded because she was offering namaz, and if she had answered or looked at me, her namaz would have been broken. She then asked if I needed anything. Curious, I asked her what namaz was, thinking it might be some kind of practice like yoga. I commented that she looked very slim and smart, so she didn't seem to need any yoga. She smiled and began to explain that namaz is not yoga or any other practice. It is our form of worship, just as you worship your gods and do various things to please them. Similarly, we offer salah to please our Lord and seek His pleasure. Salah is the pillar of our religion. Without it, our faith cannot fully adapt. Performing the 5 daily prayers is every Muslim's duty, and fulfilling this obligation is of great importance. I was standing there, worried and listening to her words. When she became silent, I returned to consciousness, and my heart began to change. I asked her, "Did you put this curtain up?" She nodded and said, "Yes, I put it up because in front of you is your God, and I do not worship in front of Him. That's why I put this curtain, so it would be easy for both of us." After saying this, she went back to her side. Days passed, and I spent most of my time with her and the rest of the Muslims. My time was mostly spent observing and getting to know the students. I began to admire each and every habit of Javaria. I didn't know why, but I was becoming more interested in her. Her habits attracted me a lot. Whenever she came out of the room, she was completely covered, even her fingers and nails. She used to keep a veil in front of her eyes so that they were hidden from sight. According to her, she prayed 5 times a day and sometimes even at night. I don't know what time it was, but she told me she prayed 5 times a day. I would often look at her as she read something, though I didn't know what it was. She would repeat it in the morning and evening, always with a thick book that was not in our hands. The way she handled the book with care made it seem like it was a holy book. I didn't know why, but I started liking her style of worship. One morning, when my eyes opened, I heard her reading in a soft voice. Her voice reached my ears, and it woke me up. I removed the curtain and saw her sitting on her bed. After some time, she closed the book, kissed it, wrapped it in a cloth, and then, looking at me, asked, "Is everything okay?" I replied, "No, I woke up after hearing what you were reading. It felt good to hear it. Can you read it for me again?" She started to say, "This is not an ordinary book. It is the Holy Quran, the last book for us Muslims, revealed by our Lord for our guidance. It is a heavenly book, and there are certain etiquettes for reading and listening to it. Keeping these in mind, it is very important to show respect. First and foremost, one must be pure and clean to touch it. This is a sacred book, and Allah Almighty says that only those who are pure can touch it." I listened to her with great interest. Her words affected my heart. I asked her, "What is wudu?" She explained, "Wudu means to achieve purity. It has some mandatory acts and some sunnahs that must be followed. After that, wudu is complete." I don't know why, but I kept asking her questions, and she replied with love and patience. After that, I started gaining knowledge about Islam through the internet. As I learned more, my anxiety increased. I wanted to know everything at once, but it wasn't possible. Slowly, I acquired some knowledge about Islam. My journey of learning about Islam was still ongoing when I received news one day that my mother had fallen seriously ill, and the doctors had given up hope. I became very worried after hearing this. Javaria noticed my distress and asked what was troubling me. I told her that she should pray for my mother so that her suffering would be reduced. The rest, life and death, is in the hands of Allah. Then she prayed for my mother in front of me. It had almost been a year since I arrived in Manchester, and by now my knowledge of Islam had greatly increased. After gaining this knowledge and reflecting on my life, I was scared. I wondered why we were sent into this world and what we were doing here. None of our actions were in accordance with Islam. We had created many gods, whereas there is only one God, one who is both visible and hidden, who knows the condition of hearts without being told. There was no need to say or tell anything to him. This is our true God, and everything else is a wrong number. It was on this day that I understood the movie PK and the concept of the wrong number shown in it. We were indeed blindfolded, and our hearts were sealed. But Allah, in His generosity, guided me. I expressed my feelings to Javaria and told her that I wanted to enter Islam. She looked at me with surprise, as if I were joking. She told me to think carefully because once you enter, it is not right to turn away. She said, "What you are saying is not to be taken lightly." I understood her feelings. If any Hindu like me suddenly asked to accept Islam, everyone would think it was a joke. Who would believe that I was absolutely serious? Javaria felt the same. She thought I was joking too, but I assured her that I was serious. She was very happy, and a different glow appeared on her face. She first made me perform ablution and then taught me the Kalma, after which I entered the world of Islam. She gave me the Islamic name Noor Ali and hugged me, congratulating me. She taught me the basic acts of worship and the fundamentals of Islam, telling me to ensure that no act of mine should go against Islam. "You are more pure than me right now," she said. "All the sins of your life have been forgiven after you entered Islam. You are absolutely pure and clean." After that, she taught me how to pray Salah. When I placed my head in prostration, I felt as if all my restlessness had ended. My inquiry had been completed. I had reached the destination I was searching for. I had found the purpose of my aimless life by entering Islam. Along with the Salah, I started reading the Quran with Javaria's guidance. I had a great desire to learn, so I was learning quickly. Within a short time, I gained respect in the Arabic language. Time passed, and it had been 3 years since I embraced Islam. These days, my father was calling me every day, asking me to come home. I missed it a lot, but I didn't want to go back because I knew that if I did, I would have to participate in all the Hindu rituals, which I could not do under any circumstances. If my father found out, he would kill me. I was very upset. I expressed my problem to Javaria, and she said that if, for some reason, one has to lie, then it is not considered a lie. "They are your parents," she said. "If they are calling you, then you should go there. Just don't tell them that you have changed your religion," I told her. "How will I hide it? You know that my lifestyle, speech and dress, everything has changed. In such a situation, how can I hide that I am a Muslim? They will know as soon as they see me, and with that, they will kill me. You don't know how much hatred there is against Muslims. I don't understand what to do and what not to do." I was tired and sat down, holding my head, not knowing what was going to happen. Javier sat next to me and started advising me not to let myself be exposed. "In winter, you can wear any kind of clothes. Anyway, it's the winter season, so you can wear anything below and a long coat on top. The whole problem is solved." I thanked Javier and hugged her. She was very kind. She solved my problem in an instant. The real problem was solved by Corona. I had taken a big hat and cap, which I used to cover my head, and I put a mask on my face to protect myself from Corona, as if my veil remained intact. I thanked Allah 1,000,000 times. He does not let His servant get disappointed. He finds a way out where no one expects a solution. He had given every difficulty with solutions. I packed my things, did some shopping, and then took lots of prayers from Envies and left for India. While going home from the airport, my legs started trembling. This was the first time in my life that I was so confused. Someone as bold and confident as me was nervous about going to her own home. As home was getting closer, my nervousness increased, my breathing got short, and my heart was beating faster. But there was also a feeling of peace that now I was in the right place. My safety was now in the hands of the Almighty. Thinking this, I relaxed myself. I knocked on the door of the house. The retainer opened the door. Before I could enter, my grandmother had come with prayer ceremony items on a tray. First, she gave me a coconut. After that, I had another ritual, and then the prayer ceremony was performed, which I did with great difficulty. The next moment was for blessed food. I took it, but I didn't know whether it was permissible for me to eat it or not, so I secretly put that blessed food in my coat's pocket. My mother was very ill. Her condition was not good. She had become frail, and the pain from cancer kept her in a state of agony. She had received treatment from many places, but there was no recovery. There was a pile of Ganga water near Mother's bed, along with who knows what other things. I first cleaned Mother's room and removed all the unnecessary items from her room. The biggest difficulty I faced while living here was my prayers. Despite my efforts, I could not pray 5 times a day. There was always someone around, due to which my salah was missed. I used to offer all the prayers of the day in the last half of the night, and after reciting something or other, I would console my mother, after which she would sleep peacefully, if only for a short while. Otherwise, the intensity of the pain was so much that she would keep pacing around the room with the help of a stick the whole night. One day, I just sat next to my mother and consoled her. After pacing around the room for a long time, she lay down on the bed. It was already late, more than 2 sas in the night. Usually Mother used to sleep by 1 sasa, but today she was still awake. After consoling her, I started waiting for her to sleep so that I could offer salah. After some time, her eyes closed and I saw her sleeping. So I immediately got up, did ablution, and started offering salah, unaware that my mother was watching my every move. At that time, she did not say anything, but when I woke up the next afternoon, there was an uproar in the house. My mother had told everyone that I had changed my religion. My father was exceedingly angry. His temper had reached the 7th sky. He couldn't believe that his beloved daughter had done this. He came to me to ask and question me. I had bowed my head. The truth had come out in front of everyone, and there was no use in lying. I confessed in front of my father. He slapped me several times at once, but I was not sad. As soon as my father went into the room to get the gun, I ran out of the house because he wanted to kill me. I came running to the station because it was about time for the train to leave. My intention was to board the train as soon as possible and stay away from my father's sight for the time being. I'd taken only 2 steps when suddenly my foot got stuck in the track of the train. My father and all the Hindus standing there started laughing after seeing me. My father said, "Now tell your Lord to come and save you because the train is about to come and it will crush you." I looked towards the sky and Java's words echoed in my ears that Allah tests his servants. Perhaps this was my first test. I closed my eyes and surrendered myself to my Lord. I had full faith in my Allah. Surely he must have thought something better for me. As soon as I thought of this, all kinds of fear left my heart. My eyes were closed. The train was coming closer when suddenly a loud crackling sound reached my ears. I suddenly opened my eyes and saw the scene in front of me. I involuntarily thanked my Lord. The train was passing very close to me with a loud noise, while my father also fell in prostration after seeing this scene. This is Allah's doing. The bright flash of lightning cut the plank in a moment, due to which, instead of coming towards me, the train had climbed onto the other track, passing along it. They were surprised and worried as they watched the train going safely on the other track without any damage. It was a miracle for them. Everyone was worried because of this miracle, realizing that the one who did this was not any Baba, Devta, cow or Shah. The one who did everything was my God, my Allah, who has control over everything. He is my Allah, by whose orders everything in the universe moves. He is the Almighty. He is the one who changes the direction of even the winds. So what was such a difficult task for him to change the direction of the train? My father came and freed my feet from the plank and told me to make him recite the kalma of that God who had rescued me from the jaws of death. The seal on his heart was removed by the strong thunderbolt. Allah had blessed him with guidance. After coming home, the first thing my father did was to untie the mother cow and drive her away. After that, he announced his conversion to Islam in front of everyone. I also bathed my mother and made her recite the kalma. That kalma was my mother's last kalma. Her soul was probably waiting for this kalma, as she had been alive despite having cancer for the last 4 years, even though the doctors had given her only 2 weeks to live 4 years ago. But perhaps my mother's death was to happen after accepting Islam. After this, big political people turned against my father. He used to preach religion, due to which he was threatened every day. At first, my father remained firm, but when his community members started forcing him, he decided to leave the country. My father and I came to England. He started his business here, while I went to Manchester, because I still had 1 more year left. Viewers, how did you like today's story? Do tell me in the comment box below. In the end, I pray to Allah, Rabbul Izzat, that He gives us the ability to do good deeds and keeps us away from evil. Ameen, Ya Rabbul Alameen. That's it for today's video.